ceramic tile. Get them at your home store. 15 cents a piece. 4 1/4 inches square. Let's sublimate something on it. I'm going to show you 3 methods. 2 of them work better than others. Coming up. I'm Roger. Welcome to the loft above the shop. Because it's warm up here, it's cold outside, it's cool downstairs, so I'm working up here today. And I'm going to show you how to take a 15-cent ceramic tile from your local home store, 4 1/4 inch square, roughly 1/4 inch thick. And we're going to sublimate onto it. And I'm going to show you the results of 3 different methods, but I'm only going to show you how to do 2 of them because one of them doesn't really work so well. This is done on polyacrylic, and I'll explain how that is applied and the prep that you have to do before you do it. This one, and yes, I know it's off center, and we'll go over on how to prevent that, is done on clear vinyl that is adhered to the ceramic tile, and I'll show you how to prep that. This one, you'll see the color's not near as good on it. This is done on laminate, and the problem I had with laminate is trying to make it stick to the tile, and it doesn't want to stick. So unless you want to do this on the back and leave it that way, this is not really a good method. I know other people have managed to do it. I could have used some probably 3M77 adhesive spray on it first, but the color is not near as good on the laminate as it is on the vinyl or on the polyacrylic. So we're going to go into exactly how I prep these and how I do it. I'll even give you the time and temperature settings for your heat press. Okay, I'm going to prep the one we're going to do with clear vinyl first because that's going to have to set a little while because I use rapid tack to prevent air bubbles and to be able to position my vinyl. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that that tile is clean. And a little bit of rapid tack on there and a cheap paper towel. And we'll make sure that surface is good and clean. Okay, next, I cut my vinyl in a shape. I don't know if you can see this at all. Here's another one I've done. But I actually wrap it around the tile so that it will prevent it from coming off or something like that in the future. That and the tile has a bevel on the edge. It's not completely square. It's got a bevel there, so you need to be able to allow for that bevel. I've cut another one out here. It did overlap a little bit, but it should work out just fine. It'll still wrap the edge. And this is clear vinyl. You could also use a white vinyl. I used this clear because this was a leftover piece from another project. And it was big enough to do what I needed to do. So I have my vinyl here, and I just need to put a light coat of rapid tack on my tile. This will allow me to position my vinyl on there. And I have the corners cut out so that I don't have some great big overlap. And this probably would have been easier with white vinyl, but we'll make this work. You just take a squeegee. This will eliminate any air bubbles that may get underneath there. It's the same process I use as when we do our sublimating on glass. It's just smaller. And make sure you go over that little curve on the edge. Take your time doing this. If you get an air bubble in there, it's not going to look good in the finished product. And I'll just flip this guy over here. And we'll bring these edges up and around. Make sure you keep your corners good and tight. And one nice thing is, after this has gone through the heat press, this seals on the back really nice. So you have a sealed edge all the way around. Let's kind of give it a once over there, make sure there's no air bubbles anywhere. And I'll just set it off to the side and let the rapid tack evaporate. Not much left in there anywhere, but you definitely don't want any in there when you go to press or it'll blister. Okay, so this here's my graphic. I printed 4 of them to the page. We'll get this cut out kind of roughly here. Now what you're going to need to do is put some cross hatches on this so you know where the centers are, because you're not going to be able to see this graphic as you go to put the tile on it. So I just use a little ruler and I look for the center of my graphic each direction, which is about there. And put little tick marks on the edges. I do the same thing this direction. Okay, this tile has been sprayed with polyacrylic. Prior to spraying it, I sanded the face of the tile with 400 grit paper to break the glaze and give it what they call tooth, so that the polyacrylic would stick. Polyacrylic is water-based. It doesn't like sticking to things like glazed surfaces. So you need to have that roughed up a little bit. 400 grit is just fine. You don't need to go any coarser than that. Just enough to take that glaze, shiny glaze off the front. I coated it with polyacrylic. I let that dry completely. Actually, I let it dry overnight. The next day I come back, I put another coat on and let that dry 100% overnight again. So there's 2 coats of polyacrylic on here. So now we need to get this lined up onto the tile, or onto the graphic. And using my marks, I can see where I need to be here. You can also see through somewhat from the other side. Oh, by the way, when you're making your graphics, you need to mirror the image, because this is going on this way. It's not like when we do it on glass and it's coming up through the back. So there's our polyacrylic one prepped. Now we will do the same thing with the one that has our vinyl on it. And we're ready for the heat press. Okay, a little something you're going to want to do if you're not familiar with using a heat press for that's glass sublimation, and I've mentioned this in my previous videos. When you're going to do your first one, and you first turn on your heat press, you've got to warm up the temperature. We do 385 degrees. I will run a press with no glass in there, just parchment paper, just to preheat that bed. If you don't, your first one will not come out the same as the ones that follow afterwards, because the bed is not warmed up, and if you're putting that down on a cold bed, you're going to have a hard time getting that to come up to temperature, and that a lot of time of 190 seconds, and you won't get a good dye transfer. So we always preheat it with the bed clamped down. Okay, something that is suggested, but you absolutely don't have to have it, is called a heat press pillow, which is right here. And what this does, it allows this to wrap around these curved edges on this tile. So we'll put a piece of parchment paper down here. We'll set our 2 tiles on this pillow. This pillow gives enough give for to be able to press down in there a little bit better. It gives you a little bit better wrap. Not absolutely necessary, just suggested. So how long, how much pressure? Medium heavy pressure, 385 degrees, 240 seconds. I probably forgot to mention there, and hopefully you noticed when I put them on the heat press, that the graphic goes down, the face of the tile is down, the back of the tile is up. If you try to do it the other way, it isn't going to work too well. These will be hot. This one here is the one with the polyacrylic, and that one the paper will stick. I'll show you how to get that off. One with the clear vinyl here. And we need to let these cool. Okay, these have cooled off to where I can handle them now. You'll notice that the one with we did with the clear vinyl, it'll have a little bit of a film on it. Well, that come right off here. We'll show you how to do that in a minute. This one here, though, you'll find that with the polyacrylic, that paper is really stuck on there. I mean, it's just adhered. And a lot of people freak out and they just throw the project away, or they think they need to try to scrape. I'll show you an easy way to do it. Put it in the sink, run some water over it, let it set. Just get her good and wet, doesn't hurt a thing. Same way we do our glass. And we'll just let that set a couple minutes while I get this one cleaned up. Now this little film on here will come right off using magic eraser from Dollar Tree. Just like that. Dry that off a little bit. And we'll let this other one here soak for a little bit. Okay, this has had some time to soak. See how well the paper comes off? It comes off just like that. The tape off of there, you'll see there'll still be a white film on there. That comes off fairly easy. I'll show you how to do that. So, back to the Dollar Tree thing, Dollar Tree Scrubby. A little running water. And when you get the majority of the paper stuff off, get your magic eraser, get that white film off of there. Give it a rinse and we'll let this dry. Okay, here they are side by side. This one on this side was done on the vinyl. This was done on the polyacrylic. This one here is a little bit more shiny. This one could be clear coated. You should certainly put another coat of polyacrylic over it, or a lacquer or something. Well, not lacquer, that'll lift polyacrylic. But an enamel or another coat of poly to further protect it. Okay, how permanent are these? These are permanent. This is obviously vinyl stuck on the tile, and the dye has sublimated into the vinyl. If you were to get that vinyl off, you just have a white tile again. This here, the polyacrylic has adhered to the tile, and the dye has then sublimated into that polyacrylic coating. It is still on top of the tile. So either one of these, if you had something abrasive, yeah, this would scratch. This is not like this here is one of our laser engraved tiles. This is permanent. This will not come off because this is literally engraved down into the tile itself. Both of these sit on top of the tile. It would be just the same as if you were to do the one on laminate like this. It's still on top of the tile, and yes, it could be damaged from abrasion. Okay, so what do you do with these? Well, that depends what your intended use is. If you want to use them for maybe a little stand to set something on, you could get these stick-on feet, look like this, or like this. Little silicone feet that stick on, they're self-adhesive. So that would be one option. That would put little feet under it so that this would not scratch the surface, whatever it was setting on. Another option you could do is you could make it a coaster. And for that, we do a lot of these, especially with the laser engraved tiles. We buy these by the hundreds. And this has a self-adhesive back, and I'll put one on here. In fact, I'll do the tile here that's got the vinyl on it. So this back just peels off. And you place that in the center. These tiles are 4 1/4 inches square. These cork squares are 4 inches, so you leave an 1/8 inch reveal all the way around. Just press it down. You get a coaster, just like that. And the reason I wrap this is so that you do not, the reason that I wrap this edge all the way around and come back under is so that you don't have a raw edge here, especially with the way this curves. It's kind of hard to see, but that does curve right there. And with this curve down, if you don't have your vinyl wrapped like this, or if you're doing laminate, you're going to have to do the same thing. Or it could potentially peel, or water could get up underneath there eventually, or some little kid could sit there and start picking at it. You know, little kids like, they find a loose edge of anything, they'll be picking at it. So there's one way to do it. Here's the polyacrylic way. That's the other way to do it. Both work equally as well. The vinyl is a little more shiny. I think it would be easier to put a protective coating on this It may wear better than this vinyl. Again, it depends on what your intended use is. If it's just a decoration, you don't need to do anything else with it. If you're going to use it as a coaster, I think the vinyl one would work as is. The polyacrylic one, you should probably put another coat of polyacrylic on top, or poly or some other type of protective coating before you use it for a coaster. Could you use them for a trivet? Probably not. Hot cup of coffee, sure. A hot pan, no. I wouldn't do that. You may lift this or blister this polyacrylic, and I know it would soften the vinyl if you went over 300 degrees. So you definitely don't want to do that. Okay, so what are the mistakes to avoid? One of them is, you can try a laminate if you like, but as I said, it didn't work out too well with mine. And I had to keep the heat tape on the back to keep this all taped down. And it still did not really stick. If I take this heat tape off, the laminate comes right off. In fact, I could grab the corner of this and peel. So I don't like the laminate idea on ceramic tile. It does work on canvas real well and a few other things. It's not really good for ceramic tiles. What's another mistake to avoid? Make sure your image is centered. So there's a little bit of a mistake. This is on clear vinyl, and I didn't have my image centered, but that was when I was doing some testing. So I guess it's not all that important, and I'll just use it around the shop or the loft here. Another mistake, when you make your pencil registration marks, make sure they're outside of where the image is going to be, or you'll end up with pencil marks on your finished product, and no, they don't come off. I guess that pencil lead also sublimates, because I tried erasing these even, and I couldn't do it. So something else to remember when you're making your pencil marks, make sure they're outside of the image. Okay, so there's how you sublimate on the ceramic tile. 3 different methods, 2 of them that work well, 1 that doesn't work so well at all. So if you got anything out of this, appreciate getting a thumbs up. Always helps the channel, and of course we're always looking for subscribers. Otherwise, I'm Roger in the loft, not in the shop, staying warm. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.